It's the weekly show about pro AV with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV. Give it up for Steph and Gary. Steph and Gary.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to rAVe TV. I'm Steph Beckett, and that's Emily Dean, my guest host, because Gary has a faculty meeting at UNC. And then which cat is that, Emily, who's our other guest host?
It's Lulu.
Welcome, Lulu. Thank you for joining us. How are you, Emily? I'm glad that you are joining me as my guest host today.
I'm happy to be here again. Maybe this will be a regular thing. I don't know.
Maybe we'll just kick Gary off.
Yeah. No, I'm doing well. How are you, Steph? I haven't seen you. I've been on vacation.
You've been on vacation. Tell me, how was Mexico?
It was great. It was nice and warm. My really first time vacationing in Mexico, so that was nice and fun.
I've never been. I've always wanted to go though.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you had a good weekend.
It was very nice. Came back a little sunburnt, but
well, that's par for the course, you know. So while you were away, we got our monthly temperature check ready for this month. And then this month, the May temperature check survey is now open. You can go answer it. It is on our site, very big in the middle. If you go to ravepubs.com, you can't miss it. And the subject for our survey this month is Infocom, because that's kind of what we're all talking about. We're all getting ready. We're so excited to go to Orlando, which is also going to be nice and warm. And yeah, it's only 3 questions. It probably will take you about 2 minutes to answer. So please go answer it. We want to know what your feelings are about returning to trade shows and returning to Infocom. We expect this to be a very big Infocom this year.
Yeah.
And we're very excited about that.
Yeah, I keep looking at the show floor on their website, and it just keeps growing as they get more and more exhibitors. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the show. I'm excited to be back in Orlando because I much prefer Orlando over Vegas, which may not be popular opinion, but that's my opinion. So yeah, we keep seeing more and more exhibitors. We keep hearing more and more things are planned from the exhibitors there. So yeah, I'm excited. Steph, what is your top thing that you're most excited to see or excited to experience at the show?
I'm excited to go to a lot of press events at this one. I think that this is going to be the Infocom that they bring all of those back. There's been kind of a sprinkling of them in the past 2 years, but I think this is the one where there's going to be new product, new thing, new giant announcement. I think a lot of people are going back to announcing big things at Infocom, which I think I'm really excited to get to be a part of and get to cover. So I'm really looking forward to that. I just said yes to Sony's press event the other day, so I'm excited to go to that.
Yeah, I'm excited to go to that as well. And I think a lot of the exhibitors have really big plans around their product launches and everything. So I think it's something that we're going to really have a lot of plans. Everyone's going to have all of their schedules planned out to the T. And we're actually getting ready to launch our Infocom microsite really soon too.
Yes, we are. I'm really excited. So
what's that website again, Steph? I know that you're going to be sick of saying it by the end of June.
The microsite website?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be ravepubs.com/Infocom.
Perfect. Yeah.
So no more years. We are just keeping it simple. And this is just going to be the microsite moving forward. I will write a piece to tell you guys a little bit more about how to use this microsite. It's different looking than our microsite used to be. And it also changes. So yeah, we change it. There's a version that we do before Infocom that has a lot of pre-show content featured. And then during Infocom, we kind of change it to focus more on what we're doing there. And then after, we kind of change it to focus more and highlight more on all the videos that we've done. So we were just changing it to highlight different things depending on what we are doing. So I'm excited. It's going to be great. Yeah. We started that with ISC. So if anyone that's kind of our beta version of it. Yeah. So if anyone happened upon the ISC microsite, that's why it looked different. Which we're kind of the queen, this company, rAVe Pubs is the queen of just changing something and not really telling anyone about it. We did with our entire website. We just kind of changed it and we're
it's called a soft launch.
Yeah, we're just like queens of the soft launch.
Yes.
So yeah, continuing on, let's see, what else do we have to discuss today? So we have lovely sponsors and partners, and one of our sponsors and partners is rAVe, and they have asked me to tell you guys to make sure to check out their connected health solutions. You can scan the QR code and read the article all about it, about how they can help with your telehealth solutions and making healthcare easier. And yeah, you can just scan the QR code, read the full article there. They're a lot better at explaining their products, like the MD330 than I am. So go check that out.
Have you seen that camera in person? Like, have you been able to like pick it up and
pick it up? Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually really cool.
So I which I was kind of like, at first I was like, what's the use case for this? And they were like, oh, like we're heavily wanting it to be used in healthcare because you can just pick it up, and like if you have a doctor who's just like on a screen in the room, they can see when the camera's like shifting in, so they can see like a patient, like what needs to be done. So I was like, that's actually pretty cool. That's a great idea.
It is.
So yeah, very cool.
And I'm sure they'll have it at Infocom for people who are watching who haven't actually seen it in person.
Yeah, they're definitely going to bring that. So I highly recommend going by their booth. I will double check what number that they are, and I will mention that in the next show. So continuing on, I'm going to bring on our guest now. We have another surprise guest for you guys, and that is Scott Tyner, who is a long writer for our blog squad. Hey, Scott, how's it going?
I'm doing well, Steph. How are you?
Doing well. So I wanted to talk about the piece that you wrote for us kind of recently, and this was on how culture is going to determine whether we return to the office or whether we work from home, which you had some hot takes in here. So I'm excited to discuss this a little bit with you. So first of all, like describe like office culture to me.
Yeah, I think, and I start out the blog by talking about, I think sometimes people talk about culture and they think, oh, I have a mean boss or a bad boss, and culture to me is much more about that, right? Mm-hmm. So for example, I have a sense from seeing on social media and knowing you and talking to people what the culture at rAVe is, right?
Right.
I don't know at this point it's anything you actively try to work on. It's how you operate as a company, how the bosses are, where people are, what they do, all that kind of stuff. And so we often would look at something like rAVe and say, oh, it's a great culture. It looks fun to work there. It looks creative to work there. People seem happy. And you might look at a place like Twitter and think, oh boy, right now that's not a great culture. And yet there might be people who thrive in that. And if I'm a programmer who that's what I love to do and I want to get rewarded for it, I don't care if I work 80 hours a week, Twitter's my place to go. But I'm assuming, Steph, you're not going to go work at Twitter because it's not the culture that fits you, right? So it's so much more than that. So that's kind of how I think about office culture. And a lot of it, I talk about in the blog, it could be, do we do a lot in the community? Do we do a lot to support DEI? What do we do? What do we believe in? What are our shared values? And so that's kind of where that piece starts.
So then how do you determine whether a company's culture is going to work for you? Like when you are in like the interview stages or you're taking a look at a company and you think, well, maybe I want to work there. How do you determine like what that culture is and like, is that going to vibe?
Well, I think that if you're looking in, particularly let's talk about the AV industry for a bit. If you're looking at our industry, I think there's a lot of the big companies we have a sense of, right? I could tell you if you name some of the big companies, what my sense of their culture is. And I think to some degree, most of us would agree that there are some that are much more business oriented in their suits and ties. And there's other people that are much more casual. And so if you're looking at one of the larger companies like that, you can get a sense from history or from colleagues. If you're looking at one of the smaller companies, I really think that's what the interview process is for. And we often think about the interview process as I'm kind of begging for this job, when really I'm interviewing you as much as you're interviewing me.
That's true.
I have values and skills and beliefs that I'm going to bring with me. And I want to make sure that they fit there. And I think that if you're hiring somebody, you want to make sure that I fit. So I think that those are questions you ask. That's why certainly in higher level positions, you want to visit the location and see what's going on. And of course, there's plenty of resources on the internet to kind of get a sense of current employees, former employees, and what they talk about. But that is where I'm always cautious to say, listen to what somebody's saying, particularly if they're complaining or if they're happy.
Right.
Because the culture might not fit them, but that doesn't mean it doesn't fit you.
Right. So do you think that like culture ever actually like does just suck in general, or do you think it's just not for some people, whereas it could be for others?
I think that culture could certainly be bad at certain companies, right?
Okay.
But I think it takes a long time to get there. I think that particularly you would think that would happen with somebody at the C-level suite who came in and actually had a conflict with the culture that was there and kept trying to force a change and just continued to do that, and nobody ever addressed that and let that happen. Over time, it becomes a low morale and the like, and people start leaving, and maybe a whole bunch of people come in that fit the new culture, and that's when things get really strange. Which is why if you're hiring somebody in that case, you either make sure they fit the culture, or you're hiring somebody to change it.
Right. You have to make that like conscious choice.
Right.
So how does that determine where people are going to work?
You mean like from home or remote or hybrid? So I think that there's lots of people, and we all do this, right? When we write or think or talk a little bit, we like to talk about these exaggerated things. Anybody can work from home. Of course, we're talking about people who aren't physically doing things at the place. Anybody can work from home. But I think that there are certain company cultures that may say we get our energy, we get our creativity from being together and talking and seeing people in person, and maybe even having friendships outside of the organization. And so I think there are certain companies that lend themselves more to that. I think if you think about it, or certain areas of a company, I think if you think about sales, nationwide sales or international sales, those people are traveling a lot, they're out of the office a lot. And so that culture obviously feeds more into being away. And hopefully there's a culture that lets people connect with their fellow salespeople and the like. But I give an example here where I am, and that is that we have an option to work from home if we want, and we can do that. But what we're seeing is more and more people are coming to the office every day. We like to see each other in person. We like to have those relationships. Many people feel that hybrid meetings are difficult to do. And so one of the points of this article is if you're a salesperson or a designer, and you were to walk in here and you say, I can solve all those problems, you're ignoring some of that culture of us liking to be together and our creativity coming from that.
Like that might not need to be a problem that like actually needs to be solved if not everyone wants to work from home or is hybrid.
100%. And there are certain companies, and I think probably some of the smaller ones like we would be, that there's also a number of tax implications of people living in other states and working. And so you might not want to get involved in that. But I think you actually just hit the nail on the head, right? You have to be sure that you're solving a problem that company wants solved, not showing them a new way to do work in the way you want it done or the way you want to solve something.
And not just wanting to sell something to like make your bottom line. Yeah.
Right. Because you can say, I can show you this creative piece and that creative piece, and it works great for this company. And okay, it worked great for them. Doesn't mean it's going to work great for us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, Scott, I know we can read your full piece if you scan a QR code. It is also at ravepubs.com. But if people want to connect with you and chat a little bit more about this, where can they find you?
Certainly on LinkedIn. It's S. Tyner on LinkedIn, and it's at S. Tyner on Twitter as well.
All right, perfect. Well, it was good talking to you and good catching up. Thank you so much for joining rAVe TV today.
Take care.
Thanks. All right, let's bring back Emily. Hi.
Hi. That was a great conversation and some interesting insights as to culture, because that's a huge topic today, especially as there's a lot of considerations with hybrid versus in-office remote versus remote work. And so, yeah.
And it's big at our company. We talk about culture a lot at rAVe and like how that's important to us. And it's been an important part of establishing who we are in the industry. So
yeah, absolutely.
Continuing on, another great sponsor and partner of ours is rAVe, and they wanted us to tell you guys a little bit about 2 new products. So they have this new Vadio Intellashot auto tracking camera mount for large displays, and this is made to fit on Chief's system. So as you know, both of those are companies under the Legrand umbrella. It's important to them for them to all work together.
Right.
And then the next product is the Conference Shot ePTZ camera mount for large displays. So both are mounts for cameras. There's just one for large and one for, I think, a little bit smaller. But this one is also made to fit with the Chief system. So
yeah, and these work on their mobile carts. So one thing that, and I just know this because we were just at the Exertis Almo E4, and Gary was on his tour that I was following, and he goes, don't ever put the collaboration board at the front of the room, because that's not where it's going to be really utilized. Put it literally on a cart, because that's how it's going to be utilized the best. And so with this new accessory that Legrand has for those collaboration ETPZ cameras, it really kind of solidifies that statement of these collaboration devices are meant to be mobile and meant to be utilized in that aspect. And I can see this being used a lot in obviously corporate education settings that need the mobility and need the functionality of putting it at the top or at the bottom, depending on the setup of the room.
Right. So yeah, if you are someone who has a lot of flex spaces in classrooms or at your company, and like sometimes you need first a third person to join the call virtually, but not all the time, like this is for you, because it's made to go where you need the camera to go in that moment, or if you don't need the camera to be there in that moment. This is kind of made for the truly collaborative, flexible space. So I think that is very cool that they made that. Do you remember? We made our own one time. I think we just like stuck a camera on top of a collaboration board that we had in the office. Yeah. So I'm glad people are making things for this now, so Gary doesn't have to get out the drill. So
yes.
Speaking of Gary, he is going to have a session at Infocom this year, which is really exciting. So this is the future of workspaces, is all about experiences. If you know Gary K, you know this is something that he's been talking about for a really long time. It's going to be June 13th at 4 p.m. I don't know exactly what room it's going to be or like where it's going to be yet, but I think Avixa will announce that as Infocom gets a little closer. Yeah, and you'll get more information. If you scan the QR code, we have a whole right up of it on rAVe Pubs, and there's a link so you can register as well. But it is at Infocom in Orlando. So yeah, he's very excited to host it. Highly recommend checking it out.
Yeah, this session is more about how to build workspaces and design systems around the generation that is going to be utilizing them. So we're used, like with us at rAVe and a lot of other companies, workers are used to working from anywhere now. So now we as the AV industry and AV professionals, the designers, those are the ones responsible for building spaces that are going to be utilized by our generation, by people younger than us. And they don't want the meeting rooms that are just purpose built for conferences. They want other multi-use purpose rooms. So this is a really good session, and it's CTS I and maybe D certified.
Awesome. Yeah.
I will have to follow up with that, but
we'll double check on that part. But yeah, you can register. You can find out more just by scanning that QR code that you see on the bottom left of your screen. And there, it'll take you to all the links of everything that we've talked about on this episode. And that is one of them. So, Emily, I wanted to talk about this. This was some major news that came out in the past couple of days. I had to read this a couple of times because I didn't believe it at first.
I know.
So, if you are a member of the AV industry, you likely know who Christopher Janes is, and he as the person who founded Immersive. And we kind of have all speculated for a while about whether he was going to retire soon, and I think we all thought he would. But no, he's not doing that. He is leaving Immersive and he's joining QSys,
Yep.
which is a division of QSC. So he's going to lead QSys software engineering, and he's going to also lead advanced research and technologies and AI and machine learning and cloud and data. So he's definitely not retiring. But yeah, I don't know. I am trying to think about the reasoning. I mean, it could be anything. It's all speculation at this point.
It is, but I think this is a good opportunity for him. It's a great get for QSys, and just to expand upon their really growing company, right? They are leading, they're trying to grow that portfolio and that side of the company was it last year that they introduced QSys as their official control company at Infocom, or was it the year before?
Yeah, I think it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was last year at Infocom.
Yeah, so I think that this is a really great win for both of them. And then I know that you published an article last week kind of about the new Immersive leadership. So they've got some great leaders there as well. So I think I'm excited to see what Chris is going to do at QSys, because he's also a really personable guy, and very well known in the industry. So I think it's a good get.
It's definitely a win for QSys. Yeah. Trying to continue establishing that brand. I know it's always difficult, establishing a new brand under a former brand. So establishing QSys from QSC, I know that's kind of been a bit of a I'm sure it was hard in terms of marketing, just like it was hard for us when we built the rAVe agency, and formerly we're just known as rAVe Pubs. It's always going to be a little difficult when you try to distinguish two brands. So I think this is going to help tremendously, having his name and his brand behind it. So continuing on, our last sponsor and partner that we're going to talk about today is Shure, and we have a short little video that we're going to play for you from them. Okay, so just a couple more things to discuss today. I know our editorial intern, Maggie McIntyre, wrote a piece just going through the results of our April temperature check, and that one was on sustainability. We focused a lot on sustainability last month as a company. We had a launch and learn where we partnered with Commercial Integrator and Save, and that was a gigantic success. That was
really great.
We raised $15,000 to give to different charities that support sustainability. So that was really awesome. So she kind of studied the results and wrote a piece based off of it. You can, of course, read the full piece if you scan the QR code. But just in terms of discussing a little bit of what the results were, I was surprised that almost 64% of the people who answered, their company had a sustainability plan. So I was wow, that's actually really awesome.
I think with just the growing concerns of like we said, sustainability, the earth, there's a lot of people on this earth. How can we make it a little bit better? Some of the companies, especially the larger companies, have put a lot of effort into that corporate responsibility, social corporate responsibility, et cetera, divisions. And so I'm happy to know that 64% of our respondents do have a sustainability plan. And for those who didn't or were unsure, they now know that there are likely resources that they can reach out to, including Save, to kind of start that discussion and start developing those plans and how to like move forward with that. So
yeah, exactly. So I'm glad to know that people are not only thinking about this, but they are developing like concrete plans.
Yeah.
And for our next question, we asked like what steps people's companies were actually taking to improve the carbon footprint. And most people either said that they had an internal recycling program at their companies, which, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But then a lot of people also said they had an e-waste recycling program, which is really cool. And then a few also have either sustainability certifications that they encourage their company and people in their company to get, or like even an internal sustainability committee or team, which I think is like, wow, that's cool.
I need to learn more about the e-waste just because I feel I have a lot of email e-waste.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, I mean, I think that's really cool. I mean, I obviously think that we need to work on sustainability more as an industry, particularly when it comes to trade shows, because I know a lot of waste comes from trade shows. But I know a lot of companies are also working on that. As particularly at ISC, I saw a lot of companies say that they were recycling everything from their booth or everything from their booth they'd used before, or everything was there and sustainable and was easy to like biodegradable. So
yeah,
very interesting.
And I know some of the larger manufacturers are also looking into ways to reduce like in their shipping, like their cardboard boxes. I recently got a pair of shoes from Nike, and you know how they used to ship the shoe boxes in a box?
Yeah.
Now they're shipping just the shoebox.
Oh, so, that's really cool.
Yeah. So I think that I know that particularly Sony is one of the companies that in all of their divisions, they're looking to overall reduce their kind of cardboard shipping initiatives to kind of follow something similar to that. I have no idea any of the details or anything. I just know that that's an initiative that they're taking on. And so I think that that's a way that these companies are contributing to the sustainability efforts.
I ordered a new vacuum recently, and it came in and everything in the packaging except the vacuum itself was recyclable.
Wow.
Which was awesome. I was like, oh my gosh, thank God. Because I hate like when you have like 85 plastic bags in there that have to figure out something to do with. Because I try to recycle. I try to like, I know it's like not like part of sustainability, and the problem with it is that, and the reason why people are so about it is because in a lot of the marketing, people put the pressure on the consumer to have that responsibility to recycle. And it's like not our fault. It's big corporations that have kind of like ruined the ozone. It wasn't like because I threw away a plastic bag.
Right.
But I still try to do my part and like help where I can. So I hate when I get something, I'm like, oh, now I have to just throw all this stuff away.
Yeah.
But it's good to know that at least our industry is like thinking about this and working on becoming better. But last question, it was like, what ways did people believe that the AV industry should become more sustainable and more things that we could do? And most people said that there should be greater collaboration and knowledge sharing among industry stakeholders. So talking about this, helping with education, and I think SAVE as an organization is going to be very paramount in doing that with our industry. So they were there at ISC. I believe they're going to be at Infocom as well. So very excited to see what all this organization and ones like it, like the good that they do for our industry.
Yeah.
So that's about all we have, other than just to talk about a few launch and learns that we have coming up. So we've got one with HETMA on broadcast quality productions for the education market. And that is going to be May 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern. So that's going to be all about really making those productions in the classroom, really giving them that quality. Like they don't have to be just a camera that you kind of didn't think about and put in front of the room. Like this can be really intentional and this can be amazing. There's so many technology out there and great options for presenters, and presenters can be anyone from corporate to a teacher or professor. So there's so many great options out there. So I'm glad that we are partnering with HETMA to kind of talk about those and about what really is doable in a classroom setting.
Yeah.
Next one that we have, it's going to be with IDEA. And that is going to be the day of AI. And that is May 18th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. So a little bit later, but it's also going to be really cool. So this is going to be hands-on curriculum. It's going to be lessons and activities designed to introduce K through 12 students to artificial intelligence and how it can and has potential to shape lives. So that's going to be really interesting. And I am like both nervous and excited to see what AI can do in the classroom once we kind of find out more and learn a little bit more about how we can use it and how we shouldn't use it.
Yeah, we talked a lot about AI, obviously in March with AI month. So I'm excited to continue this conversation and with the partnering with IDEA, which is the Illinois Digital Educators Alliance. So that'll be interesting. It's a little bit later, so we can cater to those educators rather than being at our typical like 1, 2 p.m. when they're still in the classroom. So this is really, targeted towards the educators who will be utilizing the AI in their classrooms. Right? Isn't that correct? Yeah. Okay. So I just didn't want to make sure I misspoke, but yeah, so I'm excited to continue that conversation, and I echo your nervousness, but excitement to see where AI is going to go.
Yes,
and where we're going to see that expand.
I think that like at least every person on the planet has been like, could I be replaced by a robot? Like in the past like 3 months. But I personally don't think so. Gary and I had this argument a little bit, like not really an argument, just a disagreement, as we do.
Yeah.
About like what AI can do. He personally thinks, I don't want to misspeak for him, but he thinks that AI is really going to replace a lot of journalism. And I personally think that it is not, because if all AI can do is aggregate right now, it can essentially aggregate resources that exist and put those into an easy to read format for us. So what AI cannot do is fact check.
Yeah.
So, I don't see it taking over journalism or taking over something for a writer, because an AI can very easily pull something from a source that is just like not true.
Yeah.
Because anyone can tweet that something's happening. So if AI can eventually aggregate things from Twitter and turn it into a news story, who's to say that what it's aggregating from Twitter is factual?
Yeah.
So.
Anyone can post anything on the internet.
Exactly. That's kind of the problem with community journalism, even though that's just another topic for another day. But anyway, continuing on, our last thing we wanted to tell you guys was just to remind you to please register for Infocom. It's going to be such a good year. As Emily was saying, like the show floor is getting bigger by the day. Like this is going to be a fantastic year to come back to Infocom. If it's been since pre-COVID, since you last came, this is going to be a fantastic year to come back. And it's in Orlando. It's going to be great. And if you register using our code rAVE, rAVE, you automatically get a free t-shirt. You just got to show up. We will give it to you. We are working on the designs now. They're awesome. And yeah, it's going to be a great show because we're going to have a booth again. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So just a lot to look forward to in Orlando. So we hope you will join us, because then once you have your free pass onto the show floor, all you have to do is get yourself there. So
that's exactly right. Yep. We're excited. Like Steph said, we're bringing back our booth. We're going to have the game, giving away prizes, giving away thousands of t-shirts. Being the fun, energetic rAVe crew, will be all over the show floor. So yes, please register with code rAVE and we will see you there.
Yep. Sounds good. So I think that has been our show. Thank you again, Emily, for coming on and joining me this time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Maybe we'll just, change the login and just like not let Gary back in.
Maybe.
I'm just kidding. All right. That's been our show. We will see you guys next week at noon. Gary will be here. Don't worry. But to all watching, thank you so much. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
It's the weekly show about Pro AV with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV. Give it up for Steph